friends, I am starting a calorie deficit phase and I know exactly how much body fat I'll lose and I have zero doubts that I'll achieve it. But this episode, I'm going to go over the 5 ways I'm preparing to make sure that happen. That will make all of the difference. The first one, I have a full mapped out strategy. Second, taking a week off beforehand. Third, mentally resetting my non-negotiables. Fourth, setting up my calendar and telling my people. And fifth, setting my meal options. I am so ready for this. I am so excited for this phase. I love this phase. I know it'll be hard, but I also know I can do hard things. So let's break down these 5 ways I'm preparing for my calorie deficit phase. But first, I want to give you a heads up that Create Your Shape is opening for enrollment very soon. Create Your Shape is my 4-month nutrition coaching program for ladies who lift weights and want to look like they lift weights. We dive into your strategy so you can build muscle, decrease body fat, and maintain it in a healthy and well-fueled way. We also go over the education. But ladies are smart. You want to understand why you're doing something. Not only does it make you way more convicted to do it, but also be empowered to make decisions on your own well beyond the program. And the last thing is creating your nutrition routine that runs on autopilot. It should feel systemized. It should feel efficient. It should just feel like who you are and how you operate. So that is what we do and achieve in the Create Your Shape program. It opens for enrollment April 9th through April 20th, and then we get started May 12th. So you can go to jennythenutritionist.com/create-your-shape to learn more and mark your calendars to join us for the May class. All right, let's get into these 5 ways that I'm prepping for the calorie deficit phase because I am just in it right now. I'm literally getting ready to start tomorrow and I am so excited. I just wrapped up a 6-month build phase and I'm going to do a whole episode on that, but I just couldn't wait because I'm so in the moment of prepping for this calorie deficit phase that it's what I want to talk about. It's all fresh on my mind. So I'll go back after then. And in an upcoming episode will be the breakdown of how my build phase went. So you'll definitely want to come back and listen to that as well. However, these are the 5 things that I did that are going to make this deficit phase so much easier. I have done many deficit phases before in my life. Early on, they were not successful. And then I did become successful, but then wasn't successful with it long term. And now, over the past handful of years, I've been successful with it and then also successful at maintaining it and then also building off of it. And I think that when I coach my ladies, I notice how you prepare yourself, how you go into this phase. You can see it of how someone's going to be successful. And sometimes they get a few weeks in and realize that they need to do a lot of these things I'm about to share. And then this switch happens and then they just take off from there. So let's go over these 5 things. The first one, I feel like is obvious and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but also so much of the obvious stuff gets missed. And this you have to do. And I'm just going to share it. So the first one is setting up your full plan and strategy. Now, it seems obvious, but you don't just go into a calorie deficit phase, right? You want to prepare yourself for months beforehand to really prime yourself for that calorie deficit phase because you're going to get so much more out of it. And it's going to be so much easier. So priming yourself typically, and this is exactly what we do in Create Your Shape. Typically, we prime you for a month to 2 months before going into a calorie deficit phase. For me personally, I just did a 6-month build phase, which also acted as a primer for this calorie deficit phase. So it wasn't just oh, okay, I'm randomly going to go into this calorie deficit. It's been planned strategically for almost a year now, right? So you can see how it's a bigger strategy at play. Then also setting the container, setting the full strategy. I know my exact calories, how much I'll need to be eating, my exact macros, right? And I know it will work. I understand the science behind decreasing body fat, and I understand how the macros help me achieve that. And in that same boat, I know exactly how much I'll drop, generally per week, but how much I'll drop overall. So my goal is around 8 pounds of ideally mostly body fat. So that means that will be around 1 pound per week, give or take. So I know that's the goal, right? It's very specific, and I know what I'll do each week to achieve that, really each day and actually like each meal. So then the next thing is I know my start and end date. That's part of the strategy, right? I know when I'm going to start. It's actually tomorrow. I'm so excited. And then I know when I'm going to end. Like it's like a very clear container. Okay, so that's really setting myself up for success. That's like the what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, all of that. And that is also what we do in Create Your Shape, like the full plan, the full understanding, all of it. So that's the first one. The second one is I took a full week off. This past week, I did not meal prep. I have been not following my daily structure. I have been eating out a lot. I have been drinking. I had a glass of wine last night. Like I rarely drink anymore, and especially wine on a school night. So it's like a Thursday night, and I just typically don't do that at all. But I'm literally just going with the flow, and honestly, it sucks. Let me explain this, right? I feel like personally, I like having that little bit of, okay, I'm just going to take a break mentally. But what happens is if I don't meal prep, right, I don't have food available. And then guess what? I am hungry. I've been like hungry all week, even though I'm like free to eat all this food or whatever. And then I get hungry, but then I'm ordering food. But ordering food takes so much time and effort to get it delivered. And then I'm spending so much more money because I'm eating out so much. And so I'm kind of getting a little annoyed just this week about how much I'm spending eating out. And then feeling hungry, right? I'm like, this is so annoying. And then feeling bloated and like just physically like unmobile and like just unhealthy, right? I feel like I'm eating like French fries with all the oils, and I'm just like, you know, when you get to the point where you just feel like, oh, also my skin's breaking out, probably from butter that I'm having in things. So my teeth also feel like grimy. You know, when you get to the point, like after a couple of days of that, my body is just screaming at me like, please go back to your daily structure where you're feeling satisfied and you're getting good nutrients in, and it's not taking a lot of mental energy because it's already like prepared and you don't have to wait on other people to deliver food. Like I cannot wait to not eat out. Like I am, and it gets me to this point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so ready to feel good inside and out and mentally. So that time off just gets me like so ready. Even next time I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never do a week again, like maybe 5 days, or at least meal prep, something, so that way you aren't hungry and like not getting enough protein in throughout the week. So I took time off, right? I haven't been tracking macros at all this week, but I can tell you, like I know macros, I know how to estimate, and I'm definitely not on track. And really, I teach taking nutrition vacations in Create Your Shape, and this is not a nutrition vacation. Like even a nutrition vacation, I teach like you still follow your structure, you still create your plate, but I've just been giving myself totally being off just for a couple of days. And honestly, this is what I used to do all of the time, and it's so funny how you don't like realize like, oh my gosh, I could feel so much better if I have my system dialed in. So I'm really grateful for like the same system that I teach in Create Your Shape that I have, that's reliable and like rinse and repeat every week, because I'm not a fan of this week and being so off, but it makes me just so ready for this deficit. Okay, so that's number 2. That was a big one. Number 3, big one as well. Mentally getting on board. Mentally like resetting my non-negotiables. So I knew this time was coming for like months, right? So I could kind of like get myself on board, but really this past few weeks is when I've been really thinking through wanting it, right? And visualizing the results that I want to get, and really selling myself on like, I want it bad. I want to make these changes bad. I just worked my ass off to build this muscle. Like, I want to show it off. I want to decrease this body fat, and like, let's go. So that feels solid now. But I've got to like spend time thinking about it, right? And just don't wake up and that happens. The next is wanting to do the work. That's a whole other part of it, right? You can want the result, but it has to go hand in hand with wanting to do the work. You know, when you watch other athletes, other documentaries, and you get like super excited and motivated. Same thing. I've been watching bodybuilders, and a lot of them share their entire lives on their stories. And so you can see them like getting up in the morning at 6 a.m. to go do their cardio or get their walk in, doing their supplements, doing their training, meal prepping, right? And just the process and getting into the process. So now same thing, like I had to mentally get myself there to get amped about getting into the details of it and feeling like an athlete. So yeah, I'm excited for that now. And the next thing is making it a non-negotiable that there is no other option, right? I know there is 0 point in me half-assing this or even going at like 70, 80%. It's not going to work, right? There's 0 point in me putting in that much effort because it's not going to get the result that I want in the time that I want, and then it just makes it kind of unfeasible. So making it really a non-negotiable. And to me, this comes down to like, okay, I can do anything for 2 or 3 months, right? It's a short, dedicated period of time that I'm going all in, I'm making these changes, and then I'll go back into my lifestyle phase where whatever I'm going to be missing out on, right, is going to happen again. And I can do that later on, but now is not the focus or the priority. Like, it's a mental shift of who I'm being for these next couple of weeks, months. Okay, that's number 3. Number 4, setting up my calendar and telling my people. So I'm looking at what I have coming up in the next couple of weeks and months. And I know when I have busier weeks with my life, I know when I have events that maybe they'll want to go out to eat, and I know when I have trips and how I'm going to handle that within my strategy. Like, just thinking through where could be obstacles and how I'm going to solve those now. So I've already gone through like my weeks and have done that. And sure, things might pop up or other scenarios may pop up, but I'm thinking about that too. Like, okay, what happens if that pops up? What am I going to do? I already had a friend, like we had dinner planned this past week and the restaurant's closed, we couldn't go. And she's like, oh, what about we schedule it for next week? And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to be a couple days into my deficit. I already feel awful. I do not want to eat out anymore. It just sounds bad. I'm like, no, let's just go later, right? Let's do something else. And then now we're planning like a coffee beach walk, right? Instead of it, because honestly, at this point, it has nothing to do with my deficit. It is like, I don't want to feel that way. But going back to the deficit too, it's like, it just doesn't make sense and I don't have to do that. So why not change it? And telling my people, right? I tell them why, right? Here's what I'm doing. I'm telling Aaron, like, I'm starting this day. Like, I'm going all in. Like, I'm pumped about it. And I tell my dance friends, right? Which honestly, they have no idea really what that means and what that commitment looks like. But I'm telling them, hey, I know we got to eat sometimes. Let's go before I start my deficit. Oh, you bring in, you have a bakery, you bring in this stuff, bring it in this week. After that, probably won't be having much of it, right? So just telling my people and not like being proud and excited about it. And then lastly, number 5, setting my meal plan and my meal options. So I really promote a hybrid between macros and a meal plan. The benefit, this could be a whole episode, and the benefit of a meal plan is it really takes the mental strain and decision making out of the day-to-day, which is so helpful and so beneficial in a deficit phase. Macros are super beneficial because they allow you to decide what you want to eat instead of someone else telling you, not really knowing your taste buds or how much time it takes to make it work. So I teach the combination in a calorie deficit phase of know how to only do macros, but then also know how to make a meal plan to hit your macros based on what you want to take the mental strain out of it. This is what I do for myself too. So I I already have my meal bank, my meal options, but some are going to be more friendly in the calorie deficit phase. So I just pull those out of like, okay, what are my favorites? What am I feeling this deficit phase? And they'll likely change, right, as I get sick of meals and stuff, but at least initially I'm set up with it. So I know exactly the meals I'm going to be having and going to be enjoying them too. Also, on that same lines, I'm getting new containers, which I'm so excited about because it makes like these little things make it the whole process so much easier. And having like fresh new containers where you know like things are ready to go, and there's like no better feeling than like finishing a work block and being hungry and then just walking in and within like 3 minutes being able to eat. So nice, instead of having that like mental load of being like, okay, what am I gonna eat? What am I gonna do? I have to cook something, like, or order something? Like, no. Can you tell I'm at a point where I'm like very ready for this? So I'm excited going into a calorie deficit phase. And if some of you guys followed along last year I did another calorie deficit phase, which I was in a totally different scenario. So this one I am for a whole handful of reasons, and I'm sure I'll break this down later. I'm in a much better position to go into this phase, which is probably why I'm also very excited for it. All right, if you're curious on how to execute a calorie deficit phase, how to prime yourself for it, and how to feel honestly just confident that you know it's going to work and how to achieve it, that is what we do in Create Your Shape. I teach you the full strategy to begin with, and then we break down your custom plan on your own dashboard and tracking and all of your key metrics, and then coaching on how to actually execute it, making it systemized, making it routine. That's what we do in Create Your Shape. So you can join us at the link in the show notes, or go to jennythenutritionist.com/create-your-shape. And I'll see you there, and I'll see you next week on the Create Your Shape podcast.